Alright, today we're going to go over seasonings. Essentially, these are your very, very, very basic seasonings. Salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. Some people like using onion salt or garlic salt. But, for us people whose family has every health issue under the sun, that's not feasible. Plus, you don't want your food to be too salty. If you can't afford any other seasoning, these bad boys will get the job done. And honestly, it's the bare minimum that should be put in food. Unless you're allergic to these two, which apparently is a common allergy. So, salt and pepper is like the bare minimum for you guys. Seasoning blends are also your best friend. These can go on anything. And most of the time they even recommend, like with this Old Bay right here, they say what you can use them with. With that being said, you do want to watch out for salt content on these if you're going to put salt in your food. I personally prefer to use these salt-free seasonings when I'm cooking. That way I don't make my food extra salty. Like I have the garlic and herb, table blend, and of course lemon pepper. Also, season salt is also just a good in general one. And I definitely recommend having at least these, if anything. And of course, here is all the fun, more advanced seasonings. I say advanced of quotes because honestly, if you know how to use them, I will go ahead and warn y'all that this specific seasoning group is the kind that if you put way too much in the food, you're gonna taste it and it's gonna make the dish taste nasty. Especially if you're not a big fan of those flavors to begin with, like me and dill. I can do a pinch of dill, but one time I put way too much dill in my tzatziki sauce and I'm not a fan of ranch either, so like if y'all are wondering. And of course there's more flavor enhancing stuff like celery leaf and celery seed, but again those are things that you don't want to put too much of in your food. Before we move on to the fun world of exotic spices, I would like to say that these are things that could be considered seasoning, but also not considered seasoning, or things that I think flavor your food. Like for starters, vanilla, obviously, and anything sweet is going to be great or disgusting. There's really no between, obviously. You want this and sweet stuff. This one has cinnamon in it, so I will say if you have a cinnamon allergy, please do not use this. These are beef and chicken bouillon. I prefer using Maggi, but honestly, you can just use whatever you want. There's no specific rule. I like to put this in rice, in soup, in broth sometimes. Sometimes I don't, depending on what kind of chicken I'm using. And beef, of course, I always sprinkle a little bit extra in gravy, and I put it in soup to make it taste really good. And of course, some people might argue with me on this one, but I feel like beef has a very distinct flavor on its own. So if you're gonna use it to cook regular food, I would avoid using too much. But if you're gonna use like Southeast Asian dishes or whatever, yeah, you can go ham on that. And of course, extra virgin olive oil has a flavor of its own. You're technically not supposed to cook with it, but like we all know everybody does what they want. So this goes good in soup and salad and as salad dressing, so yeah. Alright, and last but certainly not least is all your fun exotic seasonings. These are seasonings that you may or may not be able to find in the store. You will often find these in specialty stores, or you will have to get it exported from that country. This I found at my local Asian store. I use this for like cucumber salad, and I want to try making kimchi at one point. I also got this, which has got a masala. And of course, there are some that you can find in your local grocery store, like this ground mace, or this allspice that I got. And of course, there's fun seasonings like mango powder and asafoetida, which I had to order these online because the Asian stores in my area don't really carry Indian seasonings like that. And of course, there's stuff like Middle Eastern 7 spice, which I don't have a pre-ground version. I tend to make that one from scratch because I already have all the ingredients, so I don't see a point. And of course, white peppercorns, which I also had to order on Amazon, but I think some regular stores may carry them. And this bad boy, which is chita bean, and this comes from Mexico. My grandma always brings some to me every time she comes here to the States from Sinaloa. So yeah, that's all you need for your seasonings, really. Anything extra is a bonus.